Well, boys and girls, girls and boys, thank you for joining us once again, where we're dealing with the crackpottery, the fucktardery, the cockwomblery, all of those things. But mostly, we're here to talk about what's been happening this week and stuff. Stephen, you've had an issue with something that's been going on around the cholesterol reporting, I hear.
Yes. Well, you know, LDL isn't cholesterol. Let's start with that. It's a low-density lipoprotein. Sean Baker was talking about a study, and it was about 2 days ago. And what the study showed, essentially, was that in this cohort, this high level of LDL, which we'll call LDL cholesterol because that's the parlance of these people. If you had high levels of LDL cholesterol, it didn't seem to cause plaques as much as those with the lower levels.
Stop me.
And yes, yeah. well, that's me. Yes, as well. I'm like, well, okay. So that's some evidence. That's a study. So poor old Sean's then had to do a sort of, as expected, the hatred is swift video on YouTube, which I do recommend you check out because the backlash has been incredible. Now, this is experimental science, and they've thrown absolutely everything at this study, which did everything in its power to be impartial, a proper study, basically, like we were always talking about. And the authors have been contacted, I think, by David Diamond about the study, and the authors still think that LDL is causal, which straight away you have an issue with because that can't be proved. And then you've got the confounders as well. But also, there's a lot of mudslinging going on. You know, the authors are too unintelligent to actually interpret their own data because it goes against the narrative, basically. And I think it's very frustrating that when you get a study and it shows something that isn't in the narrative's best interest, rather than think of the health of the people, they just think of the profits in the back of the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. So that's bothered me this week, and it wasn't something I was going to talk about, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It may be something in the future that you want to do a video on because, firstly, the study is pretty good. Secondly, if you've got huge numbers of people with high levels of cholesterol, well, high levels of LDL, I should say, that little beep there was to warn me. I've just said LDL cholesterol, and that's the wrong usage. But when you've got levels are like maybe 600, some of them, and showing no plaques. And this author is a specialist in cardiovascular pathology, so he does know what he's looking at. So it's just frustrating. And for me, I get this, you know, in everyday life with clients saying, you know, I've lost, what did I have this the last client I coached? I've lost 44 pounds, you know, my blood pressure's down, I'm off my diabetic meds. People get bored of me saying this, I'm sure of it. But I went to my doctor and he said, what are you doing? You look amazing. Well, I'm from carnivore. Oh, well, that's going to kill you. It's just ignoring the evidence is frustrating beyond belief. And I think that's why, you know, we get on so well because it definitely annoys you slightly.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We express that in different ways at different times, of course. But yes, I find that infuriating to the nth degree, so I do. And Ted, well, you should have heard the invective from him. I'll tell you more about his invective in a bit. But yes, that sounds interesting. We'll get onto that. I haven't actually been keeping up with all of that, precisely because I've been non-compos mentis, off the grid pretty much, really, in terms of YouTubery and whatever. Because for the last week, I've been wined and dined and wined a bit more in Honolulu. So I have on the Cerule dime or squiddly diddly pound thing, whatever you guys use over there. It's a trip that they do annually, except this one's the first one that's been done for 3 years because of some reason. Couldn't get people on planes that hadn't had certain interventions, whatever. And
it's a mystery.
Yeah,
a mystery one.
Well, suddenly we've got the first one in 3 years happening in the week just gone, and it did, and it was a blast, and it was fantastic. Thank you for Cerule very much for paying for a week away in Hawaii. It all went a bit tits up at the end, but it wasn't Sir Rul's fault. It was nothing to do with Sir Rul. It was Air New Zealand. They got it wrong. They got it.
What happened?
Well, they got it right and they got it wrong. So the thing they got right was on the night before my direct flight home from Honolulu to Auckland, the outgoing flight from Auckland to Honolulu the night before, i.e. the same plane, they noticed damage to a window on the flight deck, and it was deemed that they should probably pull this aircraft. Now, that's absolutely the right thing to do. Well done in New Zealand on deciding to pull that flight. However, that was a full 12 to 14 hours before my flight on the same plane, and they've just cancelled it. Do you think they told me about it? No. No texts, no email, nothing really. I only found out through Surreal colleagues who somehow managed to get the notification that this flight was no longer going to be occurring and that would all been diverted. So it was. I thought, oh, okay, great. They'll probably just send us down to Australia and across from there. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Did they do that? No, they didn't do that. They sent me to California and then from California down to New Zealand. So they sent me completely arse backwards the wrong fucking direction around the globe and turned a 7.5-hour flight into 21. Unbelievable.
Right.
And it's probably, to do with the Star Alliance membership or not of various airlines involved in various air routes in and out of Honolulu. Anyway, that wasn't much fun, especially considering the flight from California to Auckland. That was 13.5 hours, 10 of which were quite serious turbulence.
Yeah,
not much.
Yeah, probably a lot of vegans on the plane causing that.
Well, I don't think that's the kind of turbulence that was really going on. But, it was a fantastic week, so thank you very much, Sir Rul.
Well, that brings me, can I just
please
mention something which you might not know? Because Jane tried the collagen, seeing the benefits of the stem enhance. She tried the collagen and she woke up and she said, I've got no pains in my hands. I've had these pains for months. And the only thing we could think of was the collagen was making a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, she's very fit and doing really well, and she does pole fit. So she uses her hands a lot, and she does Pilates classes. Maybe 10 of them a week.
Yeah, I'm just saying, leave it. So Jed, leave it alone.
And so that was pretty interesting for me because maybe collagen supplementation has gone under the radar a little bit for me, and I think that's because you can tend to get most things from meat and fish and eggs. But I think possibly, there are people that can benefit from it. Well, definitely Jane was one because the hand pain, we just thought was down, we thought it was down to the pole fit, doing that every week for many, many years. You need a lot of grip strength. Don't get too cheeky about that word there, the grip strength. But anyway, so though I would just say it's worked out really well. I'm very impressed with it.
Good.
So I now have two things that we've tried that we've been really impressed with. The stem enhance, obviously, I think has been because I did my experiment with it, and I can't see anything else would have caused that sudden change for Jane. More than likely, if anything, if she hadn't done the collagen, I think the pain slightly gets worse during the winter months. So everything's stacked against her rather than these pharmaceutical studies where they sort of load the chips. This was easy. She just took it and it got better. So I'm very impressed with it.
Good. You wouldn't be the only one, of course. I mean, I could point you to person after person after person who was doing quite well on Stem Enhance alone, was doing quite well. Added in the collagen active and something magical, something synergistic, something je ne sais quoi occurs. And it all just meshes together and marvelous things occur, none of which we can claim occur or state will occur because that's against the rules.
Absolutely. But, these personal experiences, well, it's going back to that study. If there are hundreds of people showing something, that's data, isn't it? I mean, that is data. And if in an experimental setting, interventional.
As good as the data that any of the vegans have got on any of their ridiculous arguments, it's as good as the data that they are saying absolutely proves that LDL is causal in heart disease. I mean, a lot of people say anecdotes are not data. Well, data is just a series of anecdotes collected under some kind of discipline. So I think it's,
What's the thing about plagiarism? When I did my honours degree, the joke was, what is plagiarism? Well, plagiarism is quoting one paper, research is quoting 20. It's just the way you look at it. And I think the same with anecdotes. One anecdote, that's an N equals 1. Yeah, that might be a freaky occurrence where someone is eating just ribeyes and they've become huge and reversed. Well, I've had this. I mean, they've gone from dialysis to perfectly functioning. So you get it 500 times, it starts to be a signal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if you get it 1,000 times, you get it 10,000 times. So what I'm doing there is thinking of different influencers or different coaches. I mean, my operation, tiny little thing, I'm in the UK, hardly anyone knows me. And I've got over, 500 clients easily in the last 5 years. And I've done 120 success videos. Well, that's pretty phenomenal data. But they're all anecdotes. They are all anecdotes. But they're all backed up by, real experience, photos, actual images, DEXA scans, it's CT scans. It's just, it's incredible that people still want to deny that this is a good thing to do for many people.
Absolutely.
Because the data is there. Definitely out there.
Cool. Yep. I have been saying for a long time that the carnivore diet is absolutely the biggest part of the challenge for people's health. Get that right, things will be pretty good. But you just need a few other tweaks, I think, in today's world. And that's why I've got that video where I've got the 5 life hacks that starts off with carnivore first and foremost, absolutely. Cereal products second, grounding third, etc., down that list of those 5 things. And they're in that list in that order because I really genuinely believe that's the importance of the input of those things on someone's diet. So even if you're doing the top 2, it's going to be
creating the right environment, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. If you've got a gymnasium and you're going to work out and you say, right, okay, I only want to do 8 exercises, then you do the 8 exercises that seem to be most effective, like deadlifting and squatting and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But that will get you so far. And then you get into nuance, don't you? And then you get, we're going to start doing some isolation, or we're going to have to get a machine in to do hamstrings. And, and it's just, you give yourself the right environment, you can thrive. And that's one of the things about this way of eating. But I love the sort of, when I'm doing my success story interviews, things come out and I just think, that's a good little benefit that I've never even considered. And the most recent one, she said, my kitchen utensils, I need hardly any utensils. And cleaning up is an absolute joy. And that's one of the things, and I think the big corporation like McDonald's have found this to their cost. When they went from tallow to seed oil, they then had to employ industrial cleaners to come in and clean their cookers. Whereas when they used tallow, it was a really easy clean. And I think I find that in my own kitchen.
Yeah.
If I use butter, if I use tallow, it's really easy to clean the pots. Don't need lots of utensils, don't need lots of fancy food processors and all that sort of stuff. It's so simple. It is so simple. That it's got benefits one way and the other. It's got the health benefits, but it's also got like the life benefits. Shopping's easier. It's just easier to do. I just want to mention another thing. I mean, I relented after 5 years of coaching. I produced a meal plan. So
Okay.
So many people say to me, can I have a meal plan, please? And it's like, yeah, you don't really need it. You don't really need it. But they're so indoctrinated, and I use that word deliberately, to believe that they need to know what to do on Monday for breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, or whatever. I did one.
Yeah, okay.
Am I boring you? Sorry.
No, I'm like, oh God, meal plans. Oh God. Yeah.
So I did it, and I just thought, but in the end, after about 7 days, they will go, well, I don't really need this, do I? No, you don't, because it's simple. So simple.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you could never bore me, Stephen. You're one of the most interesting people I know, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, all right. So where do we go from there? What's the next line of whatever? I guess you should tell people where they can find Cyril.
Well, yes, you're going to put my website in the description, aren't you?
Done. And I'll also put it on the screen so that people can see what he did.
Online.
Yeah.
No, I just think at the end of the year, you look back. I mean, we're in December now, just for people that are watching next May. December 2023, and there are certain things that seem blatantly obvious, and maybe we skim over the basic stuff. I mean, I've been dealing with people with diabetes for over a decade, and still people say to me when I start talking about carbohydrates, blood glucose, they're like, "Well, I don't eat any sugar." And I say, okay, what do you eat? And I'm going to go real basic again here, but they'll say, well, I have my bread. I just have some toast. I might have some cereal.
Mm.
And by the end of it, I say, well, every single thing you just said pretty much is a carbohydrate, and carbohydrate is a sugar. And they really don't know.
Yeah.
They really don't know it.
It's
sometimes
80 years, isn't it? 80 years of mind control programming and fuckery of the highest order. Really?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Filthy stuff. Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, how does this work? Well, it works, number one, because people are immensely stupid on average, Stephen, aren't they? Let's be honest. People are, on average, immensely stupid. People that follow...
Sadly, yes.
Yeah, people that follow our channel, obviously not so. They're the ones that have got it together. We are the intelligentsia. We are the science. Trust us. Yes, safe and effective is our science. Absolutely effective and safe it is. All soldiers will line up for their treatments, which are effective and safe. Good. So there's that. People are, not highly educated or intelligent on average. For example, the average IQ is 100, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's how they set the scale. An average person has an IQ of 100. And then, you have to, for example, to join the military, you have to have an IQ of 80 or above.
Right.
Because even they understand that there's a limit to how stupid you can be before you actually aren't going to be useful, sort of thing. So that's frightening that people can be so easily misled on such a wide number of topics, shall we say, including the ones that we don't talk about over an extended period of time over the last few years in particular, for example. And it's a propaganda activity. It's definitely an entrenchment of a belief structure upon people that no one dares question. And if they do, they are banned from speaking ever. No talking for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know what you're talking about. I would have said 5 years ago, I would have argued, no, people aren't that stupid. But I think the last 3 years, since March 2020, I'm going to actually put a little bit of a curveball in. I also think it shows an unbelievably blind trust in authority.
Yes.
That makes them, even if they question it, they then find it hard to believe. And I think that's a big thing that I've had in conversations. Well, they wouldn't do that. Yeah. Surely they wouldn't do that. Surely they didn't know that these things were going on behind the scenes. And it's that blind trust, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because
sorry, go on, Stephen.
Yeah, well, I mentioned like Bill Gates and say, one of the most despicable humans on the planet. And they say, oh, no, he's doing all these good things. And I say, yeah, okay, well, there's a video of him saying that for every dollar he's invested in a pharmaceutical, he makes 20. Oh, no, he's not in it for the money. He's a philanthropist. I said, no, that's possibly the one word he isn't. He's in it for the money. He is in it for the money. And he's on video. Now, the thing is, I actually shared that on Instagram, the video of him physically there saying that.
Yeah.
I've invested $1 and I've made 20.
Yeah.
Well, that was flagged up for breaking community guidelines. Well, that's because the advertisers and all these big companies are getting donations from that area. What are you looking at now? What's caught your eye now?
I'm just going like, what? This is the overacting it, Stephen.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's incredible. But this kind of thing is not actually limited to stupid people. I mean, to circle back to our original starting point, even members of the so-called academic intelligentsia are doing the same thing. I mean, they produce a study where they collect data that says, sure, it's an association and that's all we've got here, but it seems like higher LDL cholesterol is associated with less events of heart disease. That's a head scratcher, they say, because we all know that LDL causes heart disease. Well, hang on a minute. A scientist has an opinion only so long as the data doesn't contradict. Fuck me. Contradict. That word is getting late, Stephen. And yeah. I go crazy when I miss a night's sleep, and I'll tell you what, sleeping on an airplane just doesn't happen. However much you think you're going to, no, you're not. Really.
Yeah, it's difficult to sleep on a plane. But yes, I liked where you were going. And that's the thing. When you've got a study and you're scratching your head because it doesn't give you the result that you want, maybe you should stop scratching your head about that and think, maybe what I was thinking was wrong, and this has proved me wrong.
There you go. My construct, my model is wrong. Here is the evidence. As a scientist, I'm now required to reject that construct. No,
well, that's the whole point, isn't it? I mean, that's what you're taught from day one. Yeah. You go out to disprove. And if you can't disprove it, then that's strong evidence, isn't it? It's like, oh, wow, I've got this theory, but I'm going to now try and prove that that's wrong. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it? And you don't go to try and prove that it's right. You want it to prove that you're right, but you think, all right, I've got to make this robust.
Absolutely.
And it just isn't. And I know you talk about cigarette smoking and the difference in the sort of stats there. Still didn't say it was causal, but it was pretty powerful numbers, wasn't it? The statistics were significant. Yeah. Whereas everything they're talking about here, it's just enough to say, right, okay, causal is too strong a statement. We've got to rethink this. And when there's so many people prove the opposite, then you have got to say, well, maybe I was wrong. And that's, I think, what's good about the carnivore community, low carb and keto, actually. Most have come from an indoctrinated sort of, I won't touch fat, I will be calorie restricted and I will lose weight, and deliberately sounding like an automaton, because I was one of those. I can remember flicking through Muscle and Fitness and seeing the guys there trying a high-fat diet and dismissing it straight away. In my 20s, like, well, that won't work. How can high-fat be helpful? Because I was so heavily indoctrinated. But at least, I got to 49 and I thought, oh, everything I've been told was complete BS. And then when March 2020 came along, I couldn't believe how much I'd been lied to about everything. That's the frightening thing. I mean, it's just incredible, but it makes me question absolutely everything I see. I mean, I don't watch mainstream TV anymore because whenever I see it, for instance, in the gym, it's like a parody. It's because it's all fake. Pretty much everything is fake. It's the trusted news initiative writing the script for every single news outlet. But maybe this is not good enough for YouTube. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this, but there you go. So I think that study proves it, that there's people in academia who just have to defend their position, even if the evidence is contrary to what they're saying. Very frustrating. And when you're doing your takedown videos, I mean, virtually every single vegan looks atrocious. There's not one that makes me go, well, what seems to be working for them. It's, two spring to mind. I think Simon, who slouches and looks like the epitome of a vegan that's undernourished, and Mike the vegan, who looks terrible, pasty faced and erratic.
God, can you believe this? I had so many comments on that video about how pale Mike the vegan was looking, and I'm like, for fuck's sake, people! I've altered it to make a point. I just thought I'd correct all his lies at once and remove the orange filter he uses that makes him look human. I deliberately overdid it so that it was obvious that I've messed with the video. No, people didn't get. That's what I'm talking about with people's IQs. Didn't get that. Goodness, he's looking terrible. He's looking terrible. Anyway, that was a complete aside, but it was just amusing as hell. That pay attention. Face the front class, for goodness sake. It's called irony. It's fucking amazingly humorous. It's funny as hell, isn't it, Ted? Ted?
But you're not altering what he says and his attitude to stuff. I mean, that's self-evident. I like the fact that you play the whole video. And you just think, what? They're deluded. They're absolutely deluded. And they have to defend their position with real ineffectual data, really.
Yes.
It's pretty much a work of fiction.
Yeah. I told you I was going to tell a bit more about Ted's invective and his vocabulary.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, you should have heard what he said when he found out he wasn't coming with me to Hawaii.
F*** you sideways, you f***ing boring f***ing whore. F*** off, you
Staff. Goodness gracious me. But what came out of that, I suppose, was that on about the third morning, I went down to the all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet, as you do, filled my plate with all sorts of carnivorous delectables. But there was like this one thing that came out on order that came with diced potato or something baked. So I ate everything else and just left that there. But anyway, that wasn't the point. The point was my waiter that came to, right, party of one for K. Oh, it's that K, he said, or words to that effect. What? What do you mean? He said, I watch your channel. Random. You go somewhere in the world so we made a little video for Instagram.
So,
aloha.
Hey, I've just met this young man. Tell us your name.
My name is Sam. We're all in Hawaii. I love Professor Bart K. Listen to him. He knows a lot about nutrition, and it's just amazing that I met him. He's having a delicious breakfast. He ate his bacon. We don't want the plant foods and the potatoes. It's all good. He's just so awesome for letting me be able to take a video with him. So
Awesome. Hey, man.
thank you. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Aloha.
So there you go. You meet people all over the world. Thanks, mate. Crazy, nuts. I'm just here on Sorul company for a week in Hawaii, and yeah, a bloke like that. This is my waiter for the morning. Just like, it's you, it's Ted here. Crazy. Anyway, there you go.
This little, and it was everyone that's was going, oh bless, he's starstruck, this little lad, and he's going like, here we are in Hawaii, and look who's here, it's Professor Bart K and all this bloody blah blah blah, and then he's like, look at the table here, look at this plate. He didn't want that plant food and stuff, and he hammed it up perfectly. It was great. So that was another highlight of the trip. Well, another highlight. That's the only highlight of the trip I gave you so far. I'm going to make a video of highlights of the trip. I think I'll splice together all the short videos and make it contiguous in some way, put some funky music with it and snapshots from, how you do, all that kind of bullshit. I think I'll do that.
Has Ted got over it? Has he got over being left?
He's still not speaking to us.
Nah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he'll say his catchphrase at some point to you.
Perhaps he will. The other thing is I can't get him to twiddle any knobs.
bollocks.
won't do a thing. He's completely spat the dummy, so he has. He's as mardy as all fuck, basically.
No, I'll tell you what. I want to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
So, why have you got a health? Why have you got a health science channel and a Meat Militia channel? And have you got any other channels?
Yes. Okay. The health science channel, this main channel, is the main channel by virtue of it was the first channel that I set up. It's had a name change along its lifetime. It used to be Bart K Nutrition Science Watchdog. And then, so it's now called the main channel because it's the biggest one. And this is the one where I post who's wrong on the interwebs. I post interviews on there as well. We talk about the 5 health hacks. We talk about why Cerule is a great thing and everyone in the world should be on it. We do those kind of things. We have a Meat Militia channel which has some of the more non-scientific or humorous-based, more character acting, like I'm doing this evening with deciding to do the Field Marshal this evening just for fun. It's always the Field Marshal over there pretty much because it's the Meat Militia channel. And that's, I don't do a lot there because, to be honest with you, it doesn't have huge subscriber count. It's not monetized. So I would post on there once or twice a year if you're lucky. But I also like to promote it all the time on all my videos by going, the Meat Militia exists. It's a real channel. You could actually go there and, maybe if enough of you go there and subscribe to that, I might actually put more effort into it and put more stuff up there. Ted would like that, wouldn't you? No, he's not having it. I also have a third channel, which is called Professor Bart K Nutrition Channel or something like that. That's the one where it's pretty much all collar and tie, professorial, no swearing, no comedy, no humor of any kind, just information, folks. For those folks that just want information, there you go. I cater for you in that one as well. By the way, all these channels are linked under every single one of my channels on my main channel. So wherever you see my main channel, all my other YouTube channels are listed underneath every video in the show notes. So you can just go and click on them, by the way. So that's that one, collar and tie, professorial, no naughty words, no humor, just the facts. I've got a fourth channel, which is called ItsRoundLike.
I wonder what that is.
Well, I got so sick of cretinous cockwombles coming on my channel telling me the fucking earth is flat. So I made a channel on what isn't and taking the piss out of people. It's another who's wrong on the interwebs type channel. I haven't been active on that channel for about a year because, again, it didn't really get the traction I wanted. And I had to concentrate on that, which does get traction, which I can actually make a living out of. So that's also just sitting there pretty much. But there's some great videos there on that channel. There's some awesome stuff, including a couple of videos about a bloke from somewhere near Glasgow called Dell, who comes on and is thick, almost incomprehensible Glaswegian and tells us why the Earth's flat and stuff. And it's just absolutely hilarious. You think the nutritionists are, the vegan nutritionists are hilarious? This guy is worth a listen. So you could go and check that out if you wanted to. I have another channel after that as well, which is called NZNature, I think, which is just various shots of pretty stuff around the country, which again, nobody watches.
Well, you never know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So those channels are all sitting there for your entertainment pleasure if you want to go and sub to them and watch them and whatever. Oh, I forgot one. Fuck. Unbelievable. I forgot one. My other channel is called Wol Tholomew, WOL space apostrophe THOLOMEW. It's also linked under that, so you don't need to remember that, whatever. That's the one that's the guitar playing.
Oh, I see.
Stuff. That's
Yep.
that cool. Stuff.
That's cool.
There you go.
Talking of the flat earth, one of the funniest things I saw was an interview of the guy defending his position on being a flat earth believer.
Yep.
And he said, well, I've got followers all around the globe.
Good.
Which is a real thing. A real quote.
Yeah.
Talking of channels, I want to talk about my channel because right now I'm six subscribers away from 10,000. Yeah, so I think by the time this goes out, hopefully I'll be over 10,000. I can remember when I first watched you were on 14,000 and you shadow banned or something had happened and you were stuck on 14,000 for a long period of time. So I'm glad that you've got to where you should be.
Years.
Yes, it's a long time. Yes.
Mm.
You're up 40,000 on your main channel, I think, you know?
Yeah, but that's still well behind what I believe it should be. Maybe one.
Yes, I agree. But when you compare it to other channels that have much bigger following, my sort of partner in crime at the moment, Richard Smith, sent me a video of a reel that had been watched unbelievable amount of times on Instagram. And it was the quality, well, everything was atrocious. You know, the sound was atrocious. The content was atrocious. 1.1 million followers. And you just think, how does this happen when this is self-evidently rubbish that they're talking? But there you go.
If I knew I have several million views, probably.
Yes. Yeah, it's just surprising. But yes, your channel does need a lot more subs, I think. And, you know, I wanted to shout out Richard because I think he's been on YouTube longer than Sean Baker.
Yeah.
But, you know, Richard hasn't got the traction. But I think Sean is, you know, like I said earlier at the beginning, maybe I'm being clever here and going back to how we started. You know, his videos are every single day and they're full of what's actually happening. And I think obviously you've not spotted that because you've been having a jolly, which is fair enough. You've been away for a week. But I definitely think that's something your viewers would like you to look at because firstly, the study, actually looking at the data on the study and saying, well, look at this. Look at what a classic example of an author ignoring the evidence. That's how it seems to be.
Yeah.
You know, and it's incredible. And then you've got the other thing, which is the accidental revealing that statins are not effective. I don't know if you spotted that last week. I don't know if you've heard about that, where they were studying quite a big cohort and they were looking at cardiovascular issues, but they weren't studying statins. But because there were a great number of the cohort on statins and those that weren't, they decided to put them into two groups. And by accident, on table 11 on the study, it revealed that statins were ineffective because they followed them for 10 years and found there were more cardiovascular events in the statin group than the non-statin group. And everything else was sort of reasonably equal.
Yeah, convenient.
Yeah. but it was released and it wasn't talking about that.
Where's the broom?
Yes. It's just, I laugh because if you didn't, I would get very depressed and angry about it. I have to see it for what it is, which is absolutely ludicrous. And hopefully, in saying what I said about, you know, what's happened since March 2020, I think also that might have woken up quite a few people who were maybe on the fence about how we're being treated and how we're being misled. So it might be a godsend in the long run.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about in the Meat Militia. That's what the fight is. That's what the battle is. It's just keeping on, soldering on, repeating corrections to the false narrative everywhere we hear them, to anyone that will listen or allow us to say so. Pretty much.
Yeah. See, now I wish he'd told me it was a Meat Militia because I could have dressed up as a private and said, look, I'm standing erect. One of your privates is erect.
And then I would probably have to say, I did not see you this morning at the camouflage training. To which you would have to say, thank you, sir.
Yes, absolutely.
Hilarious.
Bad jokes abound.
Yes, another hilarious little tidbit from the holiday away. We went on this submersible thing, Submarine, largest passenger submarine in the world, apparently. And it's actually positively buoyant at the end of the day. If it broke down, it actually ends up back at the top. This thing, it's not a proper submarine. It goes down because it has thrusters mostly. Anyway, that's beside the point. We go down, and at one point, a small juvenile shark swims past, of course. And one of my colleagues is like, baby shark, do, baby off, no singing. And I was recording it on my phone, and it would have been absolutely hilarious as a short. Except it wasn't recording the video. I'd just taken a fucking photograph of the shark. Technology. The other thing,
Yes,
that was classic.
Go on.
They basically, there's not a lot actually of natural coral and whatever else going on in the place where this submarine was. It was pretty barren, actually, to be fair. But what they're doing is making the plan is to make artificial reefs to encourage that, and etc. And they're having some success. They've sunk a couple of boats, a couple of planes, which then a hurricane came along in '92 and fucked them off somewhere else. So they had to go again and extend the tour so they could still see the planes and all of that. And aluminum will grow coppel. Will grow coppel. Fucking hell, Jesus, coral. And steel ships will grow coral. It's good. So that, and there was some fish, and we saw some fish, and that was fantastic. And then they came across this structure. It was this artificial structure. What they did is they commissioned the university over there to put all the best PhD minds together and come up with an idea for this artificial reef that they would grow some coral on, come up with a structure, come up with a plan. The best one wins, all of this kind of stuff. So they did. They came up with this thing which ostensibly turns out to be some concrete slabs with some steel pillars, and it's this it's pyramidal type thing. Obviously, the coral grows over and it subsumes the whole thing in a few years. Except they forgot. Concrete leaches a little bit into the water. That fucks with the pH in the water around that. The coral won't fucking touch it. So it's just this bare thing sitting in there. Great. Well done, PhDs. Awesome work. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. That's what gets me. As soon as you said there's a bunch of PhDs, and maybe that stands for PH dunces who didn't understand alkaline. But anyway, I think one of the things I think is pretty funny is when they talk about the Russian space race and the Americans, and when they first went up, the Americans spent millions developing a pen that could write in space, and the Russians used a pencil.
Right.
Sometimes the obvious is overlooked, and people can spend tons and tons of money. But that's a perfect example, isn't it, of going down that, blinkered view, thinking you've got everything sussed, and you miss the absolutely obvious answer.
Yeah.
But it annoys me, but I'm trying to have a smile on my face. But actually, that sort of ridiculous amount of money, and but good story, Bart. I mean, that plant there, by the way, is that real? Is that an actual plant in the shot there?
Everything that you see behind me is real. This is absolutely where I am in the universe right now. No, it's all computer generated, the whole lot.
That one is. I wasn't sure if you'd plonked it in the front there to add a bit of a layer, but
Plonked it in there electronically. Good, isn't it? Okay. You like it?
I like it, yeah. I think the health science one, I think it's pretty impressive that the blue desk has a reflection of you on the shiny top. I think that's amazing. Oh, look at that.
Is the whole setup for you, the whole office? Everything is all, yes, it's all. Actually, that's Downton Abbey, the library behind me.
Oh, is it? Right.
So, there you go.
You could do with a little dog curled up to the left there by the armour.
I do. Sometimes Fluffy is in here, but not now because it's late at night. She's in bed with Mum. Oh, well, there you have it.
Yeah, it's a good shot.
Yeah.
Mine's all real behind me.
Yeah. I figured you've got a bit of a blue light thing going on there, and good.
Real, yes. I like the blue light thing.
Yeah, I think it puts a nice relaxing cue over things, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got a green screen just up there that I could drop down and then end up in a New York, loft apartment or something. But I mean, this is where I work.
Fair enough. No, I think the green screens are just fun. I mean, all this kind of stuff is just to give the thing a bit of visual interest, a bit different, whatever. Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, we've done 50 minutes or 45 minutes. Are you happy with that?
Good work. Well done, soldier. Carry on. Thanks for your time. Once again, Stephen, it's always a pleasure just to chew the fat on whatever you feel about talking about. Let's do it again soon. Pretty much.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Yeah, maybe when you've had some sleep.
And then I might be half compos mentis or something, because at the moment, fuck, I could say anything. This turbulence I'm talking about for 10 hours, Stephen, it wasn't just this kind of thing that you get. It was like, oh, woomph, roar, roar, have it again, you bastard. All this fucking, whatever else.
But really, for 10 hours? Seriously, for that
10
long?
out of 13 and a half. Yeah, not all in one spell, but, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You know how, like on a flight, sometimes you'll hear an announcement where the captain will say, all right, flight attendants should be seated, just, when you can, sort of thing. Because, there might be a few bumps coming up here,
Yeah.
So they stop service and they sit down and, ding dong, they put the seatbelts light on and stuff. This wasn't what was going on this flight.
No.
The captain, she was like, flight attendants, sit down immediately. And we were like, yeah, good plan. It's just, because it was like, not pleasant, not fun at all. Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
I can remember, I've been to New York a few times, and then the last time we went, sitting next to Jane, and we were opposite where the flight attendants sit, so we were very much in eye contact.
Yeah.
And we were coming in. I'm not saying I'm an expert in piloting a plane, but it seemed really fast. I was like, I actually said to Jane, I don't think this is going to land properly. This is really coming in very fast.
Right.
And the flight attendants were a bit, with their seatbelts, looking very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, in the old war movies where they pull back like that and the plane goes steep up, that happened to us.
Right.
Pulled out really, really, like it was in a movie. It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And, all we could conclude is possibly the pilot's first day. Because you've got to, at some point, stop being in a simulator and land a big plane and it was really scary, but it was very interesting to watch the flight attendants, because they gave it away before anything else, any announcements or anything. So I sort of was prepared, but I wasn't prepared for how steep it was. I think the only other time I've been scared by turbulence was coming into Venice, and I think that's because obviously you're going over a lot of land and then a lot of water and all that, and it's quite sort of a low trajectory, and that was like, whoa, this is never going to land flat. But I suppose you have to believe in the physics, don't you, of uplift? Otherwise
No, there's no such thing as physics. The Earth's flat, Stephen.
Yeah, I would not fancy that amount of turbulence.
Trust me, I'm the science.
I'm glad you had a nice week, though, and I think, you deserve it, because you've been with Sorrel a long time, haven't you? And like I say,
it was
for me, it's been brilliant.
Sales volume based qualification for that weekend, which any one of us could actually grab next year if you want to come to Hawaii with us. We did all sorts of things. It wasn't all just floating around in submarines. We also went to Pearl Harbor, and
oh wow,
that was quite an observance, to be honest with you. With the usual, once again, talking about how unintelligent the average person is, before you get, because we went out to the Arizona, to the memorial out there, and before you get on the boat, they have a briefing, now, this is not an attraction. And we're like, really? This needs explaining to people? This is the final resting place. This is the site of interment of 1,177 men. And people need to be told, you need to be respectful over there. You need, and this is not a Yahoo fun attraction. This is a cemetery that we're going to pay an observance. Anyway, so
yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so that was, I never thought in a purple fit that I would ever be going to somewhere like that and observing that. Again, like in the same sort of a way that I never thought I would ever be in basically a concentration camp in Prague reading names on a wall there, Also turns out that this week it was the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, so there was extra, hype around it all and whatever else. And a parade, of course, because that's what you do. You have a parade with marching girls and a band, and for some reason, motorcycle gangs, because, well, they're everywhere over there, on the other side of the island to where we were. But, that was a very...
Yeah, it's always good to keep it light, Bart. Keep it light.
So, there you go. I just thought I'd share a few tidbits there for you. So that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, mate.
All right. Pleasure.
Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah, and you. And we'll talk again soon. Regards to Jane, and tell her to keep taking that collagen.